All right, welcome to our June meeting for the Special Ed Advisory Committee. First, we'll go through some introductions for everyone, and then we'll go ahead and get started through our agenda. My name is Caitlin Regan. I'm a special educator at Warwick Neck and the Secretary of the Committee.
I am Stephen Carter, Director of Student Services.
No, there's no code. It's just the link. Should just be able to pop right in.
It asked her for a code. I don't know, but
yeah,
okay. Someone else might pop on.
Perfect.
If she can figure it out.
Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Gatto Newcomb. My son Zachary attends Sherman Elementary.
Alyssa Breyer, parent of a first grader at Hoxie.
I am Melissa Lamoth, speech language pathologist for Park School.
Hope Filoni, integrated teacher at Wilk.
All right, so first up on our agenda, just to go over some group norms again, participating fully, sharing your unique perspective while protecting any personally identifiable information, listening for understanding, being genuine, respectful, and meaningful, allow any different perspectives to be heard, disagree without being disagreeable, and the committee is not necessarily a parent support group, but just an advisory committee for general topics. And I'm going to switch over sharing my screen to our meeting minutes from March was the last time we met. So I'll scroll through those quickly if everyone wants to take a quick look at that, and then we can approve those and move forward. And if it will load. So last month we talked about some priorities at Wilk and the Bridge program, improving special ed guidebook, talking about RIDE initiative of the rightful presence, and some general ideas moving forward. We talked about transitioning for next year, looking at kindergarten placements and making that transition from the preschool into elementary school easier. Let me ask somebody else. We also heard a little bit about the Budget Commission and the status of that back in March. So there may be some changes now. But there was some things about sort of how that whole process with Budget Commission was working and where the funds were expected to end up when the budget was presented, which it has been since then. We talked about connecting with Ripen moving forward with this committee. We still have a lot of work to do surrounding membership, tightening things up with meetings and bylaws and so forth. So that's still sort of on our old business item list. We had some recognitions of some Warwick staff, and that's about it. Anybody has any questions or corrections or to approve them?
Okay.
We'll go back to our agenda. And we'll move those meeting minutes as accepted, and we'll move on to
My turn.
director report.
All right. A lot going on. So I'll start with some of the stuff we've been doing. I did meet with the Blood Cancer Center. And I met with them during April vacation, and then I had a follow-up meeting with them and all of our nurses to introduce themselves to the nursing corps. I also sent all of their flyers and information to every principal. So where a lot of our nurses really kind of got into that one. So, we have a number of kids who, have either cancer themselves or a family member who does, and this is a network that operates for people and family who are dealing with blood cancers and specifically, but they'll also help with, any type of cancer. There's a lot of services that sometimes even hospitals don't even know that are there. So it's really for the families to know. And then also they also do like fundraisers and stuff for other people. So our nurses really jumped into it when we all met. And I know that many of them actually reached out to the presenters afterwards to start making connections with our schools. So that was a really good thing. During April vacation, I also met with Impact RI. It's kind of a continuation of a program that used to be there, but it's a new study that they're doing. It's out of Brown University, which is looking at home-based therapies for kids with anxiety. And it's, what do they call that? It's exposure therapy, but they're determining is whether or not it's best provided in person, virtually, or both. So we partnered up with them, and several of our psychologists have already shared that information with families that they felt could benefit from that. So those are two new things that we just got through doing. The nurses themselves, I've been meeting with them and then meeting with a separate committee of nurses to start going through our procedures and policies. That has not been looked at since 2012. And it's 2026. So that's been a while. So we've been going through that because there's been a lot of changes in technology and medicine that has impacted how the nursing job itself is being done at the school level. So we've been meeting fairly regularly the past couple of months. And then we've been meeting as a separate committee where we've now separated out what is in our policy book that is, the Department of Health requirements, and what are things that are more of a school policy kind of thing. And we're going through the school policy kind of thing to see what needs to be updated, moving forward. So we're going to start building a new policy handbook for our nurses that will then be submitted to the school committee for approval at some point. It's a heavy lift. I'm not going to lie to you. I did make it one of my top priorities because obviously school safety should be number one in terms of, when students come to us, we should be able to make sure that medically they're protected and that we're doing everything the right way. So that kind of became project number one. Other than that, as Melissa will attest, our speech people are doing awesome. And then in terms of our personnel, we have had a number of retirements. If anybody's been paying attention to the budget discussions, they've been talking about breakage and whatnot, which is when somebody retires, how much do you save when you replace them with a low-cost teacher? That's what breakage means. But right now we have 12 retirements, but a healthy number of those are actually special educators. They've been around a long time and they're retiring. So we're going to have a lot of new faces come next year. Well, I shouldn't even say new. It's really just people who are already in Welwick, actually. So there's going to be shuffling of the deck. In terms of shuffling of the deck, goes along with our last meeting that we had. where I discussed the union contract in which students would be going back to their home schools, not ones who are already out, but moving forward, then K1, then K2. So next year, I believe it is K1, our kids who are mostly at their home school if they're not in a specific program. And as a result, that ended up meaning that some schools had a decrease in student population, other schools had an increase in student population. So we had to move our resources around. So there'll be a shuffling of the deck on that as well. So you may see a new face in your school come September. Yeah, that's about it for right now, I would say.
I know school committee was not able to join us tonight. Any updates on?
Yeah, so I'd say in terms of that budget process, I am by no means the expert to be standing here and talking about, what fully went into the budget process. They did do for the first time, the school committee had us answer direct questions from the community as to our budgets. And then they also had us go up there at the city council to answer direct questions from the city council members as to our budget. I'm trying to, again, I'm not in those meetings about all the stuff, but I will say there was a budget commission. There was no budget actually handed down and approved until just recently, the beginning of May. And usually that process is done months before that. So right now, all hands on deck up here at the administration level, trying to make sure that everything is in place for the following year based off of the budget that we received. I know that the school itself, the school system and the school committee they felt that about a 3.7% increase would have been, what was needed. I think at the end of the day, we got about a 2.6. We do have a 5-year, what's the word for it? It's like it's like an action plan, but it's a budget deficit reduction plan that the mayor and the city council wanted to have. So again, I'm not the expert on it, but our CFO, Craig Enos, sat with their people, their budget commission, and they hammered out some details. So I know that what we were hoping to get and what we got were not exactly the same thing, but we're grateful for whatever money we were able to get.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're just going through some budget stuff and
Okay,
some
awesome.
updates.
Excellent. I'll just sit down. Hi. Hello.
And then what else for the school committee report? Again, it's mostly for them. It's been a lot of budget. Trying to make sure that the school gets the money they feel it needs, and working with the city council and the mayor to try to get it.
Okay.
And it's been a process for those who have tuned in and watched it. It's been kind of a grueling couple of months on that end.
Yeah, from what I've heard, it has been very grueling.
Yes.
Yeah. How long are they expecting it to continue, or is it?
I couldn't answer that piece of it, because I'm not in those meetings. That's usually Craig Enos and Bill McCaffrey, with the school committee. They bring me in when they need to know something special ed, but other than that, they're the ones that handle it. Money's tight, that's for sure.
I think that's probably an understatement.
Yeah.
And we do have a new finance director.
We do.
Yes.
Rita Diaz, she started on Monday.
So brand new.
Brandy now.
Randy knew.
I knew we were getting one. I didn't know whether we had found one.
We do have a new assistant director as well for special education, but it still needs to wait for the school committee to do the final approval of it at the next school committee meeting.
When's the next school committee meeting? Next
Tuesday?
week?
Yeah.
I'll mark that one on my calendar too.
And we had actually a lot of applicants. We had 15 applicants,
Wow, that's good.
right? You know, we've never had, usually it's 1 or 2. That we had 15 was great. We had a good pool to pick from, and we went through 2 rounds of interviews.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the person who came out on top was very impressive.
Oh,
She was very good.
yeah, well, it'll be really good to meet her then.
Absolutely.
The only thing, I had thought of under old business, we had talked a little bit last month about connecting with Ripon to sort of help us go through our bylaws, and kind of get a little bit more clarity on sort of like what is required of us, how we can kind of set up and structure ourselves moving forward so that it's a little bit more fluid.
Yeah, which would be very nice. So,
Yeah.
and I know I had talked to you over text and I'm in agreement that we should bring Ripon in. I haven't had a chance to contact them. I just started to go, I just went back to work. So,
Yeah.
I will be happy to reach out to them and see what their availability is to meet with us and tell us what they can do and what they can't do. But I think they would be a great resource for us to get, see what that could be done differently and how we can, like you said, make things a lot more fluid.
Yeah. I also put that on, just kind of jumping around a little bit, but for our next meeting dates, maybe setting up some meetings, like some working meetings where if anybody else
Exactly.
is interested in joining, sort of like a working committee, not necessarily like a official committee meeting, but to sort of brainstorm and almost like revamp the committee and kind of get it off the ground running again.
I agree.
And then like sort of setting us up like from the beginning of like, this is what our membership is. These are our members. This is how you become a member.
Exactly. This is what we do. These
Right.
are who our speakers will be,
Yeah.
and have the people who are interested, like, for example, if you're interested in working with speakers and making sure that we have a room for them and everything, get that set up. Because I think we'd like to start, go back to what we were trying to do, which is have 1 speaker per quarter. So I think there's some things that definitely they can help us out with. I know I've met with Ripon before and, some of the issues and the challenges that we have are no different than any other school district
Right.
in terms of, general attendance and membership and things along those lines. So it's just a matter of digging at it a little bit and coming at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
So I love all of the ideas that you presented though. Those are perfect.
Yeah. And if anybody else, online, or even if anybody's watching the recording afterwards has any ideas of, another thing we kind of struggled with is location. There's never really a great location for us to meet, or what seems to be a great location. We've met at the library a bunch of times, but that doesn't always work out with their timing and their events going on there. We've tried different schools. We come here. And again, that's something we can kind of see what everybody is interested in. If it would work better to kind of rotate around the city and try different school buildings, if coming here is a more centrally located, easy idea.
For as long as the building lasts.
True.
You're gonna jinx it. Yeah.
Building.
And I do know last time I talked to the mayor's office, which was a little bit ago, they did mention that they have a meeting room that we could have too, that's in Apponaug. And I don't know whether that's more centrally located to be in
Sure, yeah.
Apponaug versus being here, but I think we've got an option on the table for that too.
Always getting out.
Absolutely. And they have those bumper
cars.
Yeah, the
bumper
bumper
cars.
cars now.
I haven't received any recognitions.
And I did not
But-
either, so quiet on that. So hopefully by the time we get ourselves reorganized, that'll be something that'll hopefully come to the forefront. One of the things that we've gotten a really good response from in the past is the recognitions. I don't know if there's any from anybody who's attending tonight, but usually that's one of our more popular segments. And then the person gets recognized at the school committee meeting.
Okay. And I'm allowed to put people in for that,
Of
right?
course you are.
All right, good. I wasn't sure if it had to
Yeah.
come from everybody else.
Everybody's welcome.
I'd like to put in the entire nursing staff They have been working very hard with me since I took over to start making some changes to our policies. They've been doing a lot of work,
That's
lot.
great.
a lot of work. They deserve recognition.
And that's not easy work either, considering what.
No, not at all. The changes in technology have been, a challenge to them as well. It's changed how they do their job, and now they're looking at like, all right, how do we do our job? And let's make some politics, because it's been 14 years since we looked at the policies and manuals for nursing. Alyssa had a question.
Yep, I just want to recognize the secretary at Hoxie. She's new. I think that's her first year, Nadia. I don't know her last name, but I'm sure you could figure it out. Yeah, she's just amazing. She's so good at communicating. I mean, everything from a late bus to the book fair to they need volunteers for something. She's just very involved, very communicative, and she's been a great addition to Hoxie this year.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Great news.
Thank you.
And I'd like to recognize Matthew Conti from the transition program, who has been, has had, in fact, the whole transition program staff have done a really good job this year. I know there's been a lot that needed to change, and they've done their best to work with the students to put those changes in place. And they've had some really good work experiences and things along those lines. But I think that team deserves some recognition, because that was not easy.
No, not at all. After last January, February, March, April, on some of the difficulties that we had there, they've picked up the ball and have done a good job.
And hopefully that will continue. So
I don't see it.
if not, I'm sure you'll hear from a local number of us. So, yeah, but absolutely, it's good to see the change. So 3 good news stories, son.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other good news stories from either on the phone or in the room? Alyssa?
Yep. Also, I don't know their name. I just did my IEP meeting a couple weeks ago, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the LEA. Hoxie just got their LEA. We used to use the principal, Mr. McCombs, but now we have an actual LEA. So that's a great addition to the Hoxie special ed team as well.
Yeah, Kathy Gillette.
Kathy, thank you.
Yeah, when it comes to the LEA, unfortunately, we were at 6 and they knocked us down to 5, which is going to spread them a little thin.
Yep.
But they have been invaluable since they started. They've been very helpful.
Definitely.
All those years where it was the principal who is responsible for being the LEA of special education, and principals are not necessarily all that, up to date on special education, right? They know how to be a principal, so, and it's not uncommon throughout the country. I was at a conference recently where somebody said, like, too many principals on the LEAs, literally said that because, they didn't go to school for special education, right? They didn't get their master's degree in special ed. They took one course in special ed. So many times we were holding them responsible for understanding all the aspects of special education without really having the opportunity to get the expertise in it. So these LEAs have been invaluable to have. We had the department heads at the secondary level, but now to have that down at the elementary level has been very helpful.
Yeah, that's really good.
I just wish there was 6 and not 5.
Maybe someday.
I'll try every year.
Yeah, please do. Any other recognitions or any other comments from anybody on the call or in the room?
I don't know.
All right, then we did a little discussion on set up the committee, so we get some good work to do ahead of us.
And I can send out maybe an email and see if anybody would like to volunteer to be part of
That would be wonderful.
those discussions, and we can kind of go from there and setting up. Maybe we can see what works for Ripen, and maybe we can set up a time with them to go through all of our stuff.
Exactly.
And see where we can
Do better.
improve the best.
Yes, we can do better. Yeah, and there's a couple people that I'll place some calls to, but it would be really nice if we had some parents from the committee who are interested in helping out. There's some really good talent out here amongst all our wonderful parents and students. So it would be really nice to have some people on board.
So. All right.
Okay, cool. Are we up to our next meeting dates?
Yeah. So that would be,
Oh, I didn't know Sammy joined. Hello, Sammy.
Hi, Sammy.
Hello, I've been here. I'm just sitting outside. That's why I don't see my face.
Let me see on the screen who's in the meeting. Hi. Hello to everyone.
All right.
And our next meeting is normally in August, correct?
usually about August or September. It depends on if we want to meet before the school year starts or after the school year starts.
I think if we could, it would be nice to see if we could get some volunteers from, members of the member and friends of the committee, and maybe do some working sessions this summer if we can. So I'll see what Brighton has to say, and we'll see how many volunteers we get. Although we'd like to have it more than, us three being the volunteers.
Right. And then, we can set up, hopefully next year, we can sort of set up our meeting dates for the year, which I think will help with attendance too, if people can kind of put it on their calendars. So
Exactly.
a couple of months out and, have that date in mind of when setting things up. And we can figure out if we have been doing the last Wednesdays previously, we have been doing that. We can talk about if we want to keep those dates or if we want to
Do something a little
do something
different.
different. I know the second Tuesday of each month is school committee, so we kind of
Exactly.
tried to make it not that same week.
Exactly. And we tried to also make it our meeting after the school committee, just so we could make an announcement at the school committee meeting about when the next meeting is, because that definitely helped with attendance.
Any other?
And questions, comments, concerns, anybody? All right, then we have a short meeting for
Okay.
today.
All right.
Thank you.
You ever?
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank
good night.
you. Bye.